Hey there, curious minds. Welcome back to the Deep Dive, your express lane to becoming truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a world that might sound a bit technical at first, but trust me, it's the backbone of how countless businesses manage their spending and connect with suppliers efficiently. We're going on a deep dive into SAP Ariba, a powerhouse in procurement solutions.
Yeah, that's right. Ariba is it's this really comprehensive suite designed to streamline pretty much everything. I mean, from how a company buys a simple stapler, like you said, all the way to managing these huge multi-million dollar contracts with global partners.
Wow. Okay, so it connects everything up.
Exactly. It connects buyers and suppliers intelligently. It turns what used to be, piles and piles of paperwork and manual steps into automated smart workflows. So our mission today is really to pull out those key bits of knowledge from the source material you provided, give you a shortcut to really understanding this, this pretty complex but vital system.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Think of it as peeking behind the curtain of modern business operations, right? We'll explore how companies kick off purchases, how they manage their big agreements, handle invoices, hopefully gracefully, and really engage with their suppliers using Ariba. You're going to get some, I think, surprising facts and maybe a whole new perspective on the power of connected commerce and, why it's so fundamental to a company's bottom line. So let's start at the very beginning of the whole procurement thing. When someone in a company realizes they need something, that starts what's called a purchase requisition, or PR.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people might think this is already some kind of legal document, but what's the actual deal with a PR in Ariba?
Yeah, that's a great point to clarify. A purchase requisition isn't legally binding at all. It's simply an internal request for goods or services.
Hmm.
The real insight here, I think, is how Ariba handles this first step. It gives you, the user, three distinct ways to even start a requisition.
Three ways.
Yeah, which kind of acknowledges that a need can pop up from different places, right? It caters to different users, different situations, making sure no potential purchase, big or small, gets sort of lost in old-fashioned processes. Then, once it's approved internally, that PR becomes the basis for one or maybe more actual purchase orders.
I like that it adapts to how people actually work. So, okay, the PR is approved, it becomes a purchase order or PO. How does Ariba handle sending those orders out to suppliers? Is it just like one method?
Oh, no, not at all. And this flexibility is really, really key to Ariba's strength. You can route those POs through the Ariba network, which is this huge online business network.
Right, I've heard of that.
Or you can import them directly into your company's existing ERP system, the enterprise resource planning system, the central hub. You can even send them manually for like unique situations or use a hybrid approach. Maybe combine the Ariba network send with putting a copy in your ERP. It lets companies adapt to different supplier capabilities and their own internal setups.
That adaptability sounds super important. But let's say a purchasing agent sends out a manual PO. It just sort of gets stuck. What happens if it gets stuck in ordering status? Is there an automatic fix or?
That's a really crucial scenario to think about. If a manual PO is just sitting there in ordering status, there's no like magic button that pushes it through automatically. The purchasing agent actually needs to go in, explicitly mark ordered in Ariba, and then manually send it to the supplier.
Okay. So human oversight is still needed sometimes.
Absolutely. It highlights that even with all this great automation, someone still needs to keep an eye on certain processes. And when it comes to changes or cancellations, they're only allowed if your specific Ariba procurement solution is set up for it and the supplier is set up to accept those changes through the network. It keeps things tightly controlled.
Right. So there are rules. It's not just random. And finally, when an order is all done, how does Ariba handle closing out that purchase order?
So, to finalize or close a PO, the system gives you three main ways. POs can be closed for specific reasons. Maybe the scope changed, or the goods were received, or the final invoice came in. What's also quite neat is the system can even be set up to automatically close inactive POs after a certain time. Helps keep the records clean, keep data accurate, without someone having to manually do it.
Okay, so we've covered the start of it all, the requisition, the order. But for any sort of strategic business, these aren't just one-off things. They often fit into bigger, longer-term agreements. So how does Ariba help companies really manage those contracts and make sure people stick to them?
Yeah, this is where Ariba really moves procurement beyond just simple buying. It supports three main types of contracts. And that's a key insight because it tells you the system isn't just for simple deals. It gets the difference between a straightforward purchase and maybe a really complex layered agreement. This tailored approach lets businesses unlock specific savings and risk strategies for each case.
That sounds incredibly valuable, that flexibility. What about those really tricky buying situations, like say you're buying through a reseller, but you need to track how much you're spending with the original manufacturer? How does Ariba untangle that?
Ariba is definitely built for that kind of complexity. It supports these intricate setups, like a master agreement with manufacturer, and then sub-agreements with resellers underneath it. This level of detail isn't just for show, it gives you really accurate spend visibility right down to the source. That's, well, invaluable for strategic sourcing and managing supplier relationships long term.
Okay. And what about blanket purchase orders, BPOs? Are they just another contract type, or is there something different about them?
BPOs are actually a specialized subtype of contract within Ariba. The key thing is they must have a maximum amount defined. That's crucial for budget control, stops you from overspending accidentally. And interestingly, while they act like a contract inside your company, when they go out to suppliers via the Ariba network, they look just like a standard purchase order. Makes it simpler for the supplier to handle.
Oh, that's clever. Simpler for the supplier. Good. What about contracts where you don't issue specific orders? Like for, I don't know, ongoing services.
Right. For those who have no release order contracts, they're unique. You don't issue specific release orders against them, meaning you're not calling off items one by one from a list. But they do allow for direct receiving and invoicing against the contract itself. This gives you a lot of flexibility for certain service agreements or maybe internal transfers where the main contract guides the payments. You can even use them just for bookkeeping, believe it or not, just to track things internally. Streamlines admin.
Contracts often have specific conditions tied to them, milestones maybe. Can Ariba handle that?
Oh, absolutely. Contracts can include milestones. These are specific conditions a supplier has to meet to fulfill the contract terms, and they often trigger payments. What's really good is that these milestones can even have a designated person who verifies them, and you can set up notifications. Ensures accountability, timely communication, which is, critical for project-based contracts especially.
And to stop people accidentally spending more than the contract allows. How does Ariba police that?
To prevent overspending, there's a powerful feature called contract limit compliance. Ariba tracks both the overall contract spending limit and limits on individual line items within it. If you go over the defined tolerance, maybe you set a 5% buffer or something, the contract can be set to automatically close or at least trigger an alert. Gives you really robust financial control, helps prevent nasty budget surprises.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting with pricing. I've heard Ariba can sort of reevaluate contracts. How does auto-selection reevaluation work? And what about compound pricing? Sounds complex.
Yeah, you're hitting on some really powerful capabilities there. Ariba's auto-selection reevaluation means that before a requisition actually gets turned into an order, the system can, recheck the contract attached to it. It might adjust the pricing based on new terms, or it could even swap in a different contract entirely if maybe a better deal popped up or there's a new preferred supplier. It makes sure you're always getting the best terms possible right at that moment.
Wow, okay, so it's dynamic.
Very. And then compound pricing takes that a step further. Imagine your main company contract gets, say, a 10% discount on something. Then a small project within your company automatically gets another 5% off, not just on the original price, but on that price that was already discounted by 10%.
Ah, like a discount on a discount.
Exactly. That's basically what compound pricing lets you do. Discounts from a parent agreement sort of cascade down to sub-agreements, creating these deeper serialized savings. It's often used for percentage discounts.
That's a really smart way to maximize savings. So discount pricing in general is pretty flexible then, across different contract types.
Precisely. Discount pricing itself is highly flexible. You can apply it at the item level or to broader catalog contracts. And the system brings all this contract management together in what are called contract workspaces. Think of them like dedicated digital folders for each contract. They hold all the documents, the tasks, the team members involved. Crucially, when someone makes a contract request, it seamlessly transforms into the formal contract terms document right within that workspace. Makes the whole process streamlined and auditable. And to enforce compliance, Ariba links contract items directly to your product catalog. It requires you to record receiving against those contracts, and it uses specific invoice exception types to flag any mismatches.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about, the part everyone loves, invoicing. Without a system like Ariba, this is where things can get super messy and full of errors. How does Ariba simplify what you call intelligent invoicing and reconciliation?
Right. This is definitely an area where Ariba brings huge relief. It handles three main types of invoices, which simplifies financial processing for different buying scenarios. And for those spend categories where you might not have a formal PO, maybe some miscellaneous services or something, non-PO invoices are what you use. They generally need a formal approval process because, well, there's no PO to match them against automatically, but Ariba still makes sure they flow through a controlled, trackable workflow.
What's really interesting here, I think, is that an invoice reconciliation document, an IR document, gets created the moment any invoice hits the system, not just when there's a problem, right?
That's exactly right. That IR document serves as the official record for the entire reconciliation process. It guarantees every single invoice has a clear audit trail from the moment it arrives to the moment it's ready for payment. And during that reconciliation, you have clear actions you can take on each line item.
Yeah.
You can edit details, you can manually match it to a PO if needed, or refer it to someone else if there's a query. Helps you resolve issues quickly.
Okay, and as you said, non-PO invoices are different because there's no PO. But how does Ariba cut down on the sheer volume of manual work involved in checking all invoices? You mentioned tolerances.
Yeah, the invoice validation tolerances are a huge time saver. You can set up rules like skip for really tiny differences that aren't worth chasing, or auto accept. Maybe there's a default setting like 0.15% difference is okay for minor deviations. And conversely, auto reject for invoices that clearly trigger major exceptions. All of this automates a lot of the routine checking, freeing up your accounts payable team for more complex issues.
So it's not just about making it faster. It's also about accuracy and compliance. How does Ariba handle things like, say, tax issues or connecting back to the main company financial systems?
Well, tax exceptions, for example, the system can recognize those based on rules, but they might still require some extra manual review before payment just to be absolutely sure you're compliant with local tax laws. And crucially, Ariba integrates really smoothly with your main ERP system. That means transactional data like payment requests going out and remittance advice coming back in, which tells suppliers when they've been paid can be exchanged, often in real time. There's also a feature called remittance import, which specifically loads all that payment information back into Ariba, gives you full visibility and helps with analysis. You get a complete financial picture.
And the Ariba network itself plays a big part in stopping invoice errors even before they get into your internal system. How does that work?
It's incredibly effective, actually. Suppliers using the Ariba network can easily do what's called a PO flip. They take the purchase order they received from you and just flip it into an invoice right there on the network.
Ah, so it pre-fills the details.
Exactly. It automatically populates most of the field's PO number, item descriptions, quantities, prices. That dramatically cuts down on typos and data entry mistakes on their end. Plus, you can set rules so specific invoice fields get validated against tolerances on the Ariba network itself before the invoice even gets transmitted to your internal Ariba P2P system. It catches errors even earlier.
Okay, so beyond just the internal buying and paying, Ariba really seems to focus on empowering suppliers too, and building this more connected business world. How does the Ariba Commerce Cloud as a whole benefit companies in their external dealings?
The Ariba Commerce Cloud offers really significant benefits. Primarily, it helps organizations control costs better, minimize supply chain risks, and ultimately improve profits, all through stronger, more efficient supplier relationships. It's this dynamic ecosystem you see. It involves the buyer, the supplier, and the Ariba network platform itself, all working together. It fosters a much more collaborative and efficient supply chain overall.
And if you need to find new partners, new suppliers, how does supplier discovery work in Ariba?
Supplier discovery can be kicked off in a couple of ways. Either when you're creating a sourcing event, like putting out a tender, or you can directly post your specific needs on a part of the platform called Ariba Discovery. The benefits are pretty clear. It's effective because it reaches a huge network, it's integrated with your other processes, it's generally trusted, and it significantly helps mitigate supply risk by helping you find new qualified partners. That's critical today.
I heard about a feature called Quick Enablement. What exactly is that, and how does it sort of change the game for managing suppliers?
Quick enablement is a real game changer, yeah. It lets you send purchase orders to suppliers who don't even have an Ariba network account yet.
Really? How does that work?
Well, the PO itself contains an invitation for them to register on the network. It makes it incredibly easy to bring new partners onto your digital procurement platform without a lot of upfront hassle or friction for them or for you. It fundamentally changes how easily you can expand and manage your supplier base digitally.
That's smart. Now, when a company is rolling out Ariba, they obviously can't onboard every single supplier on day one. What's the best strategy for tackling those supplier enablement waves? Who do you prioritize?
Right, good question. When you're planning your supplier enablement waves, the highest priority should definitely go to your high-volume suppliers who are already Ariba Network members.
The quick wins.
Exactly. That maximizes your immediate impact and your return on investment. After that, you typically look at suppliers categorized as platinum, maybe account managed ones, and definitely those who already have, say, 3 or more relationships on the network. They represent established, high-value connections ready to transact electronically.
Makes sense. Let's talk about catalogs, catalog enablement. How do the responsibilities get divided there between the company and the supplier? And what are these punch-out catalogs?
Okay, so in catalog enablement, the responsibilities are usually split quite clearly. The supplier is responsible for the actual content, the accuracy, the pricing in their catalog. The customer, your company, then reviews that content and activates it, makes it available for your employees to use, ensures quality control from your side. Now, punch-out catalogs are another really brilliant feature. They let your users shop directly on a supplier's own website,
Oh, okay.
but the items they select get added back into their Ariba shopping cart seamlessly. It feels like they're still within Ariba. These are especially good for catalogs that change really frequently or for items that need configuration, like building a custom PT or something.
So it's like having a little window into the supplier site within Ariba.
Pretty much. And a level 2 punch-out takes it even further. Imagine not just browsing one supplier's site, but being able to search and compare items right within your main Ariba P2P interface, potentially pulling data from different supplier punch-out sites simultaneously.
Wow, that's powerful.
It really is. It lets you compare before adding to your cart, bringing the power of external comparison shopping right into your controlled internal system. Gives users much more visibility.
Huge time saver, I bet. And how do supplier ratings fit into making better buying decisions?
Supplier ratings are valuable, yeah. The data feeds into another Ariba module, SAP Ariba Supplier Lifecycle Management, but crucially, it can also be used to filter search results within the user-facing guided buying interface. Helps users find the best-rated partners quickly. Importantly, you can only rate suppliers you've actually done business with, and usually only once per transaction or posting, which keeps the ratings based on real experience. And underlying all this, a key best practice in supplier data management is just keeping your master data synchronized across all your systems. Prevents duplicates, ensures accuracy, creates that single source of truth for all your supplier info.
Okay, so we've looked at how Ariba changes the game with external suppliers, streamlined discovery, enablement, catalogs. But what about the people inside the company, the everyday employees making these requests? How does Ariba make it easy and, importantly, compliant for them? That seems to be where guided buying comes in.
Yes, guided buying really simplifies the process for the end user. At its heart, SAP Ariba Guided Buying is designed to boost compliance with company purchasing policies. It does this by making it just easier for users to do the right thing, almost intuitively, without necessarily even realizing they're following complex rules.
How does it do that?
Well, one way is through specialized item forms. These let requesters provide really detailed additional information when they need something specific. Helps them precisely describe the product or service, ensuring no critical details get missed right at the start.
And the spot buy catalog, that sounds useful for those random one-off purchases.
It is. The Spot Buy catalog is a really critical tool for simplifying how you buy non-source goods, those unexpected, often low value, needs that pop-up. It brings them under control, maintaining corporate visibility. The big benefits are getting visibility into those low-dollar one-time buys and also streamlining how you source maybe direct materials that have really volatile prices. And crucially, access to items within the Spot Buy catalog can be tightly controlled, maybe by department or cost center, so people only see things relevant to their role.
I see there's a moderator role mentioned in the guided buying community aspect. What's their job?
Ah, yes, the community features. Within guided buying, a moderator has the key task of tagging important questions or posts with relevant keywords or taxonomy terms. This helps organize the information, makes it easier for others to search and find answers later, fosters more of a self-service help environment, and the guided buying interface itself is super customizable. You can configure the homepage, put your company logo on it, set up specific landing pages for different types of purchases. You can even pick from built-in visual themes to match your company's branding. Makes it feel like your system.
And presumably, it talks nicely to the other Ariba solutions.
Oh, absolutely seamless integration. It pulls catalogs directly from Ariba buying and invoicing. It uses sourcing templates from Ariba sourcing, if you need quotes, and it highlights preferred suppliers identified in Ariba supplier lifecycle and performance. Creates a truly unified buying ecosystem. You'll see common tile types on the guided buying homepage, like GB search for general searching, form for filling out specific requests like IT equipment or travel, and ad hoc item for quickly adding something unique that isn't in a catalog. Each tile just guides the user intuitively.
So this simplification, it benefits different kinds of buyers then.
Definitely. Think about infrequent purchasers, maybe someone who only buys something once a year. They get one easy, straightforward place to buy goods and services without needing hours of training. And then your functional buyers, maybe in marketing or facilities, they can efficiently do things like 3 bids and a buy, getting quick quotes from suppliers, often without needing heavy involvement from the central procurement team. Boosts efficiency everywhere. When you create a request for, quote, an RFQ in guided buying, it uses a simplified quick event sourcing template. And to make sure preferred suppliers show up easily on those RFQ forms, you need to have the underlying commodity data linked correctly.
Okay, so behind all this user-friendly stuff, there's obviously some serious administration and integration work. For companies actually implementing Ariba, what's a key sign that they're moving into the main build phase of the project?
The big signal is the completion of the Ariba configuration workbook. That document captures all the detailed settings and choices, and finishing it really marks the start of the hands-on build phase. Before that, in the earlier architect phase, the key milestones are things like defining the exact scope of the solution and getting all the project resources assigned. You need that solid foundation first.
And what basic data does Ariba absolutely need from a company's existing systems just to get started with integration?
To get Ariba integrated, some fundamental data elements you absolutely need from the customer's existing systems are things like units of measure, kilos, liters, pieces, making sure everyone means the same thing, and payment terms. Interestingly, some master data, like the core system commodity codes that categorize everything, can only be loaded by Ariba's own personnel. That's because they're fundamental to how the system works globally.
The Ariba Integration Toolkit, the ITK, sounds important. What exactly does it do?
The ITK, yeah, it's a really powerful and essential tool. It gives you utilities to extract data out of your existing ERP systems, and it automates the secure transfer of data files, usually .csv files, back and forth between your systems and the cloud-based Ariba platform. Once you install the ITK, you also have to set up a separate scheduler. This scheduler periodically runs tasks to load updated master data, like new suppliers or cost centers, from your ERP into SAP Ariba. And for security, which is obviously vital, the ITK supports authentication using things like digital certificates or shared secrets, ensuring that data transfer is protected.
So Ariba can talk to all the big ERP systems then, SAP, Oracle, and what if a company needs something really specific, a customization? How's that handled?
Yep. Ariba integrates smoothly with the major ERPs, SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft, others. For that real-time exchange of transactional data like sending POs or receiving invoices, web services are generally the recommended way to integrate. Keeps data flowing constantly and accurately. Now, for customizations, if you need something beyond the standard configuration, the typical process, especially after you've gone live, involves submitting a service request to Ariba. Then, a technical lead from Ariba works with the customer to really define the scope. There's a key document called the functional discussion document that's used to capture exactly what the customer needs and figure out how the solution can meet it. Ensures any customization is well-defined and truly necessary.
Approval rules must be absolutely critical for controlling spending. How do they work in Ariba, and what makes them reliable?
Oh, approval rules are fundamentally right. They literally determine the entire approval process for documents like requisitions or invoices. They have built-in versioning and audit tracking, so you always have a clear history of who approved what, when, and based on which version of the rule. And the rules are unique based on the document type and even the content within it, like dollar amount or commodity type. There's a rule builder editor that lets administrators create and edit these rules relatively easily. Then the rule interpreter automatically reads and executes those rules, generating the correct approval path or graph for each transaction. You also use things called approver lookup files to specify exactly which individuals or groups need to approve things under different conditions, makes it super flexible and tailored.
Does Ariba also help with checking against budgets?
That's a really important point. Budget check functionality isn't usually turned on by default. It's often an add-on you configure.
Yeah.
But it's very powerful if you use it. If it's configured, you typically have options. A warning setting might let someone submit a requisition that's over budget, but it flags it and notifies managers, whereas an absolute setting would completely prevent submission if the budget is exceeded. Gives you that hard stop. It provides really critical control over spending against defined budgets. Often there's a default threshold, maybe 80%, to give an early warning before funds run out.
And finally, seeing what's going on is key in procurement. How does Ariba handle reporting?
Reporting is definitely a vital feature for getting that visibility. Reports in Ariba are accessible in different workspaces, prepackaged ones from Ariba, public ones shared within your company, and personal ones you create yourself. They can display data in pivot tables, which are great because you can manipulate them, slice and dice the data for deeper analysis. And you also have the ability to schedule reports, set them up to run automatically, maybe daily or weekly, and distribute them to the right stakeholders. Ensures everyone gets the information they need when they need it. The user interface also has visual customization options. You can pick from different built-in visual themes, upload your company logo. Ariba P2P currently has 2 main UI themes you can choose from, helps with user adoption and making it feel familiar.
And for building extra things onto Ariba, what's the form builder?
The Form Builder is this really flexible tool. It lets administrators build custom forms for various processes, often without needing deep technical consulting or IT help. It's excellent for extending business processes beyond the standard ones. The visibility of any component on a form, they call them widgets, like a text box or a drop-down list, is controlled by conditions you define. So you can show or hide fields based on other selections. And to make sure users don't submit forms missing crucial info, you can use invalidate and require conditions on specific fields. Makes them mandatory. There's also a template creation feature within the form builder, which really helps designers build similar forms more efficiently. Saves time, ensures consistency.
So, wrapping this all up, what does it all mean? We've just taken this, whirlwind tour through the nuts and bolts of SAP Ariba, from just creating a simple requisition all the way to the complex dance of contract compliance and enabling suppliers. You've hopefully seen how Ariba aims to transform these often fragmented processes into a cohesive, intelligent system. The goal really is speed, control, and honestly, a much better user experience for everyone involved. The Ariba procurement solution overall is clearly robust. It's got built-in reporting, flexible business rules, that intuitive UI we talked about, and a high level of security. It really does cover the entire procure-to-pay lifecycle, from the initial request right through to invoicing and reconciliation.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating when you step back is how all these individual pieces, the dynamic forms, the automated invoice matching, the supplier network, how they all connect to create this truly integrated procurement ecosystem. It's not just about automating tasks, doing things faster. It's about providing the underlying structure and the intelligence to make business knowledge actionable and to make procurement genuinely strategic. When you look at measuring success, key metrics for process improvement are often things like transaction cycle times, just how quickly can you get things done right, and overall visibility of spend, knowing where every single dollar, pound, or euro is actually going. And methodologies exist, like the Business Transformation Management Methodology, or BTM2. It offers a comprehensive 6-step approach specifically for managing these large-scale changes, paying close attention to the crucial people side of change, and managing all the stakeholders involved. From the buyer's point of view, at the end of the day, the key benefits of using something like the Ariba network boil down to lower processing costs and, critically, mitigating supply risk, especially in today's volatile world, which raises an important question for you, the listener.
Yeah, think about this. How might truly understanding and leveraging a system like SAP Ariba fundamentally shift a company's whole strategy? How could it move procurement from being just seen as a necessary cost center to becoming a powerful engine for driving innovation and gaining a real competitive advantage? It's definitely a deep dive that keeps on giving.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We really hope these insights empower you to think a bit differently about the world of business and technology. Until next time, keep learning.